Most America still thinks of Islam as a religion. Islam is not a religion. Islam is a civilization with its own oppressive political system that has rules for every moment of a Muslim's daily life. And those rules, that law, is Sharia. You cannot have Sharia law and constitutional law in the same civilization. So when Americans and Texans actually find out what's going on, they're like, no way. No, I'm not giving up the Constitution. And every serviceman, every law enforcement officer, every politician that's taken an oath to defend the Constitution has to stand against Sharia, or they're betraying their oath.
Have a lot of people from the Muslim Brotherhood that have infiltrated all areas of our intelligence community, of our legal community, and into the government. Why would you put a knife to your own throat?
Army Major Nadal Hassan was convicted of killing 13 people and wounding 32 others.
Chris Burgard, an award-winning filmmaker, documentarian, and professional truth seeker who's been on more FBI watch lists than most people have streaming subscriptions, talks about his amazing new film, Remember the Alamo, Don't Sharia My Texas. This powerful documentary exposes what its makers call a coordinated, decades-long effort to incrementally introduce Sharia Islamic law into American civil society, with Texas as a prime target, while mainstream media remains silent. A group of veterans, intelligence operatives, investigative journalists, pastors, and concerned citizens have spent years gathering evidence, connecting dots, and sounding the alarm. This film is their testimony. We're going to get to that interview in a moment. First, I wanted to show you 514,000 followers on Rumble. Thank you for following us there. And folks, we hit #1 with our video on July 29th. Thank you for the likes and the comments below. And then our video just yesterday that dropped, we hit #3 on the leaderboard next to Crowder and Bongino Show. Once again, thank you for that. Now, again, I wanted to show you a few things before we get to Chris Burgard. You guys probably saw this by now, but Spain has been invaded. And Spain is now deploying its military after thousands of military-aged men stormed over the border into CUETA, Spain. And the authorities there are calling on Madrid to declare a national emergency, which they did, and I'll show you that in a moment. After the border totally collapsed, the situation is absolute chaos. It's not impossible to give precise numbers, but there are thousands of migrants crossing. Said some of the folks, guys, they're predicting that they're saying that actually there's 80,000 people there that live there, and that's probably 80,000 invaders allowed in. And guess what? Many of them were just let go from their criminal activity in Morocco, put onto trucks, and sent over there. Basically, this was all arranged. The Trump White House is now ripping Europe for its far-left policies. President Trump has long warned Europe what would happen if they continued to implement far-left globalist policies, including enabling mass migration. Spain and other countries who have adopted this destructive philosophy should immediately reverse course or risk their own demise. I wanted to show you a few others in case you guys if you're looking at your screen, you'll notice they're pouring in by the thousands. The thousands. You can see them as far as the eye can see on the beaches. The invasion is there. And they are causing all kinds of chaos. It almost looks like the movie World War Z, where the zombies come in and invade, and there's nothing the people in the city can really do about it. They're breaking down windows. They're invading homes now. I've seen all types of clips and more, and you can imagine what those people are going through at this time. Another thing to notice is not a single woman or child. James Woods said, well, no different than the millions of military-aged males Democrats welcomed in the Biden-Harris open border invasion. And Morocco didn't send 40,000 of its own people into this CUETA and Melilla all at once with no food or shelter by accident. They did this. Think about it. They're going to need food. They're going to be hungry. They're going to need a place to stay. Well, that means they're going to break into the homes. They're going to steal the food and more. They're looting. They're setting fires. And guess what? Here's some connections. Santiago Abascal said the Iranian regime and the Venezuelan have been behind the financing of the far left in Spain over the last 15 years. That's why Pedro Sanchez is the Ayatollah's best friend in Europe and Maduro's best friend. And there he is. If you guys are looking at your screen, pictured Prime Minister of Spain, pictured with who? Alex Soros. The Soroses. Yeah. He approved mass amnesty. This guy. And this is the same guy who went after Elon Musk.
Social media has become a failed state, a place where laws are ignored and crime is endured.
Where do we get those talking points from?
The
Soroses.
There's only one thing we can do: take back control.
February 2026.
We need to make sure that these platforms comply with the rules like everybody else. Just last week, the owner of X, a migrant himself, used his personal account to amplify disinformation about the sovereign decision by my government, the regularization of 500,000 migrants that live, work, and contribute to the success of our country. We will change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites.
Yep, so he promised to prosecute Elon Musk and other tech CEOs for allowing illegal content on their platforms. Yet they allow all these legals and amnesty and more to play out. Musk, remember we had him, showed him on that interview that he had with The Economist, and he was blasting them about all this.
Fringe rights, please. It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders, that we should have safe cities, that we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe? And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they did. And so again, if you're looking at your screen, they did declare an emergency, but there's something very interesting. I'm going to show you this. Let me zoom in. Government was CUETA, Spain, declares a state of emergency after the border collapse. If you're looking at your screen, what do you notice? Oh, yeah. Muslims in the government declaring an emergency. Huh. Interesting, huh? It looks like, well, where's the real problem? You guys look like freaks standing there playing your jihad games. And you think that's even worse? Well, listen to this. Allah Akbar. They're screaming out Allah Akbar as they enter the country. Muslim invasion of Spain. And that brings us to this movie interview. Well, it's great to have Chris Burgard back with us once again. You've been super busy. You've got a great movie out. I watched it immediately when you sent the link to just preview, and I was just overwhelmed with emotions and more. Been sharing a lot about Islam and the takeover of our country, what they've been up to. And Chris, it's just great to have you back and to see your work once again.
Thanks, LT. I'm just honored. Thank you so much. And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And you guys, just seems like everything that's going on in our country, you're the go-to for producing the movies. You were once in Hollywood, and now you're doing these documentaries that are having an impact on this earth. So you guys have this movie. Remember the ALAMOmovie.com in the description box below for you guys to click on. I wanted to just show off just real quick. When you go to this website, what happens right here, showing how that intro, remember the Alamo, don't Sharia my Texas. Really quick preview in, watch the movie, buy the movie, watch the trailer and more. And we're going to go through that trailer here in a moment. But just wanted to ask you what you've been up to recently, and what are you going to do with this movie, and how's it moving forward?
The movie is moving forward. It's an adventure every day. We're so censored on everything. Can't buy advertising on the media. Can't get on the streaming platforms. Theaters are afraid to put it out there. But everywhere we take the movie, it changes people. I've been doing this for 19 years. First ran into jihadis in Texas. 19 years ago, a Sinaloa cartel was burning across the border. And that got me working with a task force out of DOD that Rich Higgins started. The Muslim Brotherhood stated mission that they put this together in 1991. It became known to us in America in 2008 during the Hamas Holy Land Foundation trial is to take down the United States of America and Western civilization from the inside. So I made this movie because we're going to stop them. No one else has done it. Federal government hasn't done it, but we will.
Yeah, right here, the statement, when enemies of American liberty target the Lone Star State itself, a coalition of warriors, journalists, pastors, and patriots around sound the alarm. And you scroll down, the Alamo stood for freedom. Amazing how you put this together and tie in the Alamo. How did you come up with that idea?
My ancestor died there, and I think it's in the DNA. I think there's something about, I think we're just bred to do this. You know, I never thought I'd be making these movies. You know, I had a great Hollywood career, and God took me down a different path. And it's, after the War on Truth, when the FBI came after me and my family, I thought that was the last documentary we were going to do, but God had other plans because they put Sharia right in our backyard. 24 months in the DFW area, they built 24 new mosques in 24 months. And then they started coming east. And where I live is East Texas. And it's different than DFW. Out here, the most political question you're going to get is, what church do you go to? Not do you go to church, but what church do you go to? So I think that East Texas is going to be the rock that breaks the expansion of Sharia. And we're going to wake the rest of Texas up.
We're going to go about 39 seconds into this trailer. Starting out, this is a really interesting skit that you put together, showing the background. It's just a green screen. It actually looked real when I first watched the movie, and then all of a sudden it goes to a green screen here. Very interesting how you put this together. You said it took around, my understanding, about 6 months to film this movie, produce it, and get it out, correct?
Yes, sir. We did this in about half the time of what it usually takes us, because things are moving so fast on the ground here in Texas. There's an Arabic word in Islam called hijra. Hijra means immigration jihad. It's what Muhammad first did when he left Mecca. He got kicked out of Mecca, and when he went into Medina, it's how he took over Medina. And we've seen that play out over and over again in the last 1,400 years. It's what you're seeing in Europe. That is happening in mega time right now here in Texas. And throughout the Islamic world, they are saying that Dallas, Texas is the Mecca of the West. And they're advertising that because they believe that if Texas falls, they get all of America. Right. And they're not wrong.
Yeah, let's go to around the 39-second part of this video, and we're going to play the intro basically for this trailer for this movie, okay?
Yes, sir.
Don't treat them like Texas.
There's something about Texas and how God has blessed it, and God has blessed the people of Texas.
When I see God connecting all of us the way that he is, I go, man, he's raising an army.
Man. If we want to stay here, we must talk to America about Sharia.
Nobody in the government, civilian government, DOD, Intel, knew anything about Sharia.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Did you find that the Biden administration's DHS had a formal vetting process in place?
The department did not have a formal process at the start of the OAW.
That's astounding.
My wife got confronted at 9:30 at a grocery store parking lot by a guy saying, "You should not be on the street. You're gonna be raped."
People get excited and the rape is done. Who's to blame? It is even the girl to blame.
Under his system, he's allowed to rape any woman that's unattended.
My cousin was 13 or 14, Jeanette. She woke up naked in a house, lots of bearded Muslims raping her.
There's no such thing as a Muslim country where children are not trafficked.
What you have right there is a clash of civilizations, not a clash of religions, a clash of civilizations.
Is Islam a religion?
It's a civilization, not a religion.
What about the Muslim Brotherhood? What about Hezbollah? What about Hamas? What ties the entire global movement together is Sharia. The stated purpose of Islam is to wage jihad.
They don't apologize about jihad. They're not afraid of jihad. It's a part of who we are.
Since 2020, there's been over 500 Catholic churches that have been assaulted. You don't hear about the Christian churches that have been attacked. If a mosque was attacked, they would be crucified.
If you build a mosque in the middle of nowhere, you're going to get Islamists. And Muslims come. These imams or clerics are openly calling for the takeover of this country, the Islamization of this country.
This is the correct religion, and we will not stop until it enters every home.
Imam says to me in the interview that the United Kingdom will be a Muslim country within 20 years.
I stood outside a mosque in Manchester, and when I stood there, within a 2-mile radius, I found that 16 people had gone to fight for ISIS.
And you see areas like Paris or London, whose culture is being absolutely eroded.
You have a lot of people from the Muslim Brotherhood that have infiltrated all areas of our intelligence community, of our legal community, and into the government. Why would you put a knife to your own throat?
Army Major Nadal Hassan was convicted of killing 13 people and wounding 32 others.
The state with the most jihadi attacks in the United States, Texas.
We are in a battle not just for the future of Texas or the future of the United States of America. Texas is on the front lines in the battle for nothing less than the future of Western civilization.
Don't be deceived and don't be afraid.
You have Texas politicians believing in whatever keeps them elected.
If Texas falls, the rest of the United States falls.
Don't mess with Texas.
Shepherds aren't weak, and I'm not weak, and I'm not gonna let anyone come in here and hurt this flock.
America starts in Texas. This is another Alamo. This time, we're gonna win.
The battle for Texas begins now.
Tremendous trailer. You guys have to watch this entire movie. A couple of things there that I noticed. Tommy Robinson, you had a chance to meet with him. He's been a big voice over there in the UK. What was it like being around him and all the stuff that he's going through?
You know, that was another God thing, because in my original budget, we were supposed to go over there and meet with him, and I had a bunch of rape victims lined up that we're going to interview. We couldn't raise that much money. Turns out Tommy comes to Texas, and everybody's like, you got to see Chris, you got to see Chris. So we hung out and filmed the sequences, and we've gotten together a couple of times since then. Tommy is he's a good guy, man. You know, he's grown. It started in the beginning. He was really angry, and he was, you know, one of those footballers and, you know, the hooligans. But he was angry. But if your 13-year-old cousin had gotten raped and the police refused to do anything about it, gang raped, and it had wrecked her life, you'd probably be a little angry too. Just when I thought the UK was gone, his movement, when they switched to United for the Kingdom, and it all came from one person at one of their rallies, was holding a Jesus Christ is King sign, and people started applauding and talking about that and getting up in it. And they had about 15,000 people. The next rally, they had over 500,000, and it was all Christ-centered. And they were just singing praise songs and singing patriotic songs and praying in the streets. And now you saw, you know, their last rally they had, they took over the whole downtown of London. I believe they had between 1 and 2 million people there, because now God's entered it, and God's spirit is moving, and people are remembering who they are. And, you know, for England and St. George, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Notice also Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, big fan. And you had him also, a group of folks that you brought together. It seems like you have a lot of connections, or you're able to get key folks together. It's amazing how you guys are able to do that.
We're Texans. Alan lives 2 hours down the road. Laura lives 7 hours that way. I mean, out here, it's like, Nat, how far is it? 100, 200 miles. That's how many hours is it to get there? So, you know, and this is the 4th project I've done with General Flynn. And, you know, it's just something that has to be done, because we've been through this. You know, like I said, I've been fighting the Muslim Brotherhood for 19 years, and they've been winning, and they believe they've already won. They believe they own Texas. They already believe they've taken Tennessee. And they're not wrong from their standpoint, but it's because most of America still thinks of Islam as a religion. Islam is not a religion. Islam is a civilization with its own oppressive political system that has rules for every moment of a Muslim's daily life. And those rules, that law, is Sharia. You cannot have Sharia law and constitutional law in the same civilization. So when Americans and Texans actually find out what's going on, they're like, no way. No, I'm not giving up the Constitution. And every serviceman, every law enforcement officer, every politician that's taken an oath to defend the Constitution has to stand against Sharia, or they're betraying their oath. The Muslim Brotherhood in 1991 adopted in their policy a strategy how to take down the United States of America from the inside, and using, as they say in the memorandum, its own miserable hands to help do it, meaning get people inside the country to take down the country. That came to light in 2008 in the Hamas Holy Land Foundation trial here in Dallas. It was a big victory for us. They nailed and took down this big terrorist funding network that was going on, and in it led out to all these other networking stuff. So they had a whole bunch of other people that they were investigating. They had a whole list of unindicted co-conspirators, including the founder and the heads of the Council on American Islamic Relations. These guys were going to get investigated. These guys were going to be going to prison. Obama comes in. Guess what? The investigations stop. The indictments are rescinded, and nobody goes to prison. And then some of the same people that were being investigated, he takes and puts into our government as diversity trainers, as advisors. This is way to the top. There's a fellow in the movie, John Guandolo. John Guandolo is who I was leading the task force out of DOD that I started working with 19 years ago. And John can sit down and show you the networks. He can show you exactly the operatives and their history, their mission, where they're going, who they've compromised, who they own. Because as you see in the movie, Yasser Qadi, who they brought in after they figured they won Tennessee. They brought Yasser Qadi in from Tennessee. He's now at the Epic Center, and we should talk about the Epic Center and Epic City. Yes. He's laughing in the movie that Texas can't stop him from building Epic City because their lobbyists own the politicians, because they believe, and they've been right, that America and Texas have been for sale. Well, yeah, we have been, and the politicians are compromised, but the citizens aren't awake. The citizens don't know. They still think of Islam as a religion. They're not understanding this is a clash of civilizations.
You know, this part right here, wanted to show, maybe a lot of folks aren't aware, you've got different places you're going to be showing this movie August 10th, 13th. It goes down on the website. You can see it there. Grace Outreach Family Church in Spicewood, Texas, San Antonio. You got Spokane, Washington, Tomball, Texas, Pittsburgh, Texas. And folks can actually host a screening by going to your website, and you can request that screening. Very interesting. So it looks like you guys are traveling to put this movie out.
We are. We decided, we had a feeling we may have to go old school because, as you saw during the January 6th movies that we made, the censorship and the algorithms are so bad. I don't know if you know, I was a strategic director for Herman Cain's presidential campaign. We got him famous and raised all the money for his campaign by doing viral videos. We can't do that anymore because the algorithms have gotten so amazing in the AI and shutting us down. I can't even get more than 2,000 views on some of the videos that we're putting out that should be getting tens of millions of views. So we decided we were going to go old school. So people have been wonderful. They've donated enough money. We bought a bus. The bus is getting wrapped in the movie poster, and we're going to take the bus. I thought we were just going to do Texas first, and then after the midterms, go do the rest of the country. But LT, we're getting calls from all over the country. I just got back from Illinois, where a bunch of farmers and Christians have gotten together to stop the building of another Islamic city 80 miles west of Illinois. We were in Long Island in New York. We were in Batavia, New York, which is right near where that cathedral was being turned into a mosque. And I had 2 meetings in Manhattan with 2 really big synagogues that want us to come back and help them. Because we show the movie, but we also introduce people to the Allied Special Intelligence Group. This group trains civilians, law enforcement, military, and politicians on understanding the threat and how to peaceably stop this threat. You know, LT, I want to be really clear to everybody. The left has already come out, and Kara is labeling me as a dangerous extremist. Don't see this movie; it's dangerous, and Chris is dangerous, and blah blah blah. I made this movie to avoid violence because I live in Texas, and I'm telling you what: if things don't change, we're headed to violence, and I don't want to see that happen. I do. Yeah,
you mentioned Texas, and here's that Epic City that you're talking about here. Let me turn this down. Yeah, they always put the music with it. But yeah, there's the Epic City on the screen. That doesn't look. It looks like a shopping mall taking over an entire city.
But if you go to Plano now, I mean, this one they're saying is going to be a Muslim only city. They're saying that openly because they're very cocky right now. But if you know Dallas area, Plano 15 years ago isn't what it's like now. The whole Epic Center, the neighborhood all around it has all been bought up, and they renamed the streets after Islamic military leaders. You go to the stores and it's all Islamic stores. Everything's in Arabic. It's Islamic banking, Sharia banking, which should not be legal in this country, but it is. So we're seeing this all over. And how this came into my backyard is just down the road from us, the next town over, small town, 15,000 people. We already had, a population for 40 some years of some Muslim families, but then they came in and they bought 8.5 acres on a hill overlooking one of the oldest Baptist churches in the county. And they turned the house into a mosque, and they want to raise millions of dollars to build this big Islamic center. And I talked to Malik, the fellow that's been here for 40 years, and I said, what's going on? He says, Chris, I have nothing to do with those guys. I don't know what they're doing. If we had 80 Muslim families, maybe we would need something that big, but we don't. And I said, well, how many do we have, Malik? And he said, in 2 counties, maybe 6 or 7, and we have a place to pray. So what you're seeing, and you understand, you're a military man, you're a Marine.
Yep.
In Christianity, if I have a Bible study, we outgrow my living room, we go start a church. What they're doing here in Texas, and what we've seen in Wyoming, we've seen it in Tennessee, we've seen it in Ohio, is they will build these mosques or these big Islamic centers where there is no population of Muslims, but they build it and then they fill it. Just like in the military, you put out a forward operating base, you put a fob out there, then you put personnel in, you control a perimeter around that base, and then you leapfrog to the next one. Call them lily pads. That's happening here. And what they do, this is how Hijra, immigration jihad, this is how it works. Every time they build a mosque, they claim the 3 miles around that. 24 new mosques built in 24 months in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You look at that map, you connect the overlapping circles, that 3 mile perimeter, and you understand what they are about claiming territory. That's Hijra. When you see a whole flood of military-age Muslim men in the streets, closing down the streets, praying, that's not because there isn't room in the mosque. That's because they're claiming that territory. And those images are going out to the whole Islamic world. When they force halal food into neighborhoods or into our public schools, that's immigration jihad. That's Hijra. When you have the small communities allowing the call to prayer go out over the loudspeakers, as far as you hear that, they're claiming that territory. When you see a Muslim man attack Buford's, like happened back in March, I believe it was March 6th, they hit this college bar in Austin. Okay, he hit that place because out here in Texas, everybody's got guns. Everybody. You go to a restaurant, every waitress is going to have a gun in her purse or out in her car. It's just the culture out here. And you know what? People leave people alone. The place he hit was a 51 organization, meaning if they make 51% or more of their money on alcohol, you're not allowed to carry guns in there. So this guy came by these college kids, shot at them, shot him up, threw his car, parked his car, pulled out his rifle, and came back and killed some more folks. That wouldn't have happened at a regular restaurant out here. But what happened there, the Americans look at it and say, oh, he was a crazy guy, happened to be Muslim, and he shot up a bar. It was a lone wolf. From the Islamic perspective, this was a Muslim warrior who went into the heart of the capital of Texas, Austin, and he took down a whole bunch of people, and it took a whole police force to take him out. So he's a warrior going to paradise. That's what's being broadcast to the Islamic world. That's the message they're sending out, why people need to come to Texas for jihad.
Yeah, there's a picture right there, East Plano Islamic Center planning. 1,000-home Muslim-only community with a huge mosque in Texas. That looks like a giant city right there.
Well, you have to understand that if you saw the movie, we laid out the history of Islam. In 1,400 years, they conquered a whole bunch of territory by the sword. They got stopped at the gates of Vienna. However, through immigration jihad, Vienna is now 10% Muslim. And Muhammad is the number one name in so many cities and countries around Europe. That's immigration jihad. And why? They're styling themselves after the Prophet Muhammad. And I don't know if you know this, LT, but obviously in Christianity, you read the Bible, you understand who Christ was, you understand what the religion is, you understand the faith. In Islam, the Quran is only 14% of Islam, only 14%. You have to read the hadiths. You have to read the Surah, which is Muhammad's biography. And I suggest everybody read that first, because if you don't know who Muhammad is and who he was, there's no context of the Quran. And what you'll see in the movie, we do a 7-minute compressed version of his biography. Muhammad was a warlord. Muhammad was illiterate. Muhammad was a slaver. Muhammad was a pedophile. He married his favorite wife, Aisha, when she was only 6 years old. He promised her father, Abu Bakr, he wouldn't have sex with her till she was old enough. And you know what? He did it when she was 9. And why this is scary is because the number one rule in Islam is for every Muslim to pattern their life after the perfect Muslim, who is Muhammad. So you want to know why you're seeing all these child marriages and no one's having a problem with it in Islam under Sharia? Because that's what Muhammad did. They're merely following his role that he's laid down for everybody.
Oh man, this is interesting. Now the part for me that plays out for the movie, getting it out to the public and more. What do you see the impact of this movie and overall across America as you're going to start traveling through and doing the interviews and more? Are folks waking up, or are you seeing a change and folks are starting to stand up, or on your front, what do you see going on in our country?
110%. Everywhere we've taken the movie, everywhere we've tested it, people are changed. They want to watch it over and over. They start doing their own research. Something I didn't count on, which has been kind of cool, is folks that aren't Christ followers that see the movie want to know more about Jesus, because the people in the movie that are just standing up and being themselves, they like what they see and they want to be like that. And that's just been an added plus, that the Holy Spirit's in this film. At the end of the film, before the credits roll, we have the Alamo Pledge. We wrote an Alamo Pledge, and pretty spontaneously in the theaters, people start saying the Alamo Pledge together. And you talk about the Holy Spirit filling the room when you have a whole bunch of strangers coming together saying this pledge. And when the movie ends and the lights come up, you see in their eyes they mean it. They're changed. It's intense. And this is a tipping point. I just got attacked by the San Antonio Current. And like I said, they said I was this dangerous extremist. Don't see this movie. It's dangerous. They never called me for an interview, but they went to George Washington University to ask political scientists there. And they went to the head of CARE in Houston. The fact that they're doing such a big hit piece on this film before we're even in theaters shows you how dangerous this is to the Muslim Brotherhood's mission. I'm telling you, we beat them before. We beat them when they tried to put Sharia in my daughter's school district. We kicked their butt out of our cowboy town. We're going to do the same thing here in Texas. We're going to do the same thing in the United States of America. We are going to stop the Muslim Brotherhood dead in their tracks. No one stood up to them until now. When America wakes up and sees what the Muslim Brotherhood, how they want to destroy America from within, they're not going to put up with it.
What do you see on your end on what can be done as an individual, just sitting in their homes, how they can participate or become a voice in trying to put a stop to all this?
Stop being afraid and stop being a part of this country and Texas, committing empathetic suicide, as Colonel West puts out so well. We're so afraid of offending people. We are afraid of offending somebody by commenting on their religion when it's not even a religion. It's a civilization. And as you saw in my conversation with Aziz Badri, who is a well-respected scholar, he's the founder and he's the president of the Muslim Association of Texas. When you see him saying to me that he doesn't believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God, he doesn't believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross, he believes the people were deceived and they put a double in. And then when he says that the only reason Christ will come back to the world is to tell everybody that Allah is the true God and they must follow Muhammad. So he says that. I don't hurt him, but yet if I even do something like draw Muhammad, I'm offending them so much that could have a fatwa against me and I could be killed for offending the prophet because I drew Muhammad on a piece of paper. No, that doesn't play in the United States of America. We have something called the First Amendment, and Muslim Brothers not going to change that. This is a spiritual battle. This is whether the United States stays Christian or goes Muslim to what you and I believe is a false God. But I have to also tell you, they're targeting our prisons. There's a fellow in the movie, Kamal Salim. When Kamal first came here, he was in charge of 30 Muslim Brotherhood cells that he was overseeing. And he came here to recruit for jihad. And they put him in the middle of a Midwestern area. I'm not going to say where. And he's like, he laid out to me how he gets the Hispanic kids, how they get the white kids. And he said, the prisons, we don't even worry about the black kids because all the gang guys end up going through prison, and we own the chapels in the prisons. We get more of our recruits from prison. That's why we focus so hard there. And that's still going on now.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that, the prisons and more. Wanted to get to one more thing before we close. You had Laura Logan. She was aboard our cruise last year. What a treat. She was a big part of this movie, and a part that was difficult for me to watch is just going back to what she was involved in her own life. Having her aboard on this movie was a big part of one of the things I actually needed to see. I hope folks go to rememberthealamomovie.com and check this out. But can you tell me a little bit about that and what it felt like to be in the room with her as she explained what she experienced?
That was one of the two hardest parts of the movie. The other one is my friends in Nigeria that are being wiped out for being Christians. And we can do a whole show just on how they're being massacred down there.
Yeah.
Sitting with Laura, and in full disclosure, Laura's a friend of mine. Her husband, Joe, is a friend of mine. I had prepared myself for the interview with Laura. There's details I didn't even put in the movie that she told us that are even more heartbreaking than what you see.
Yeah.
But the strength that she comes through, for those of you who don't know, she was gang raped by a mob of over 200 men and beaten and beaten almost to death in Tahrir Square in Egypt. Her husband, and I won't say what Joe does, but I'll just tell you he works in military and works in military intelligence, and he is just one amazing individual. He's in Washington, D.C. How do I get her back? And he's working. Do I put an op together? Are the helicopters ready to go? What teams am I sending in? Listening to her story was hard. What was harder for me on a personal note was Joe's story. As a dad, as a father, 36 hours from the time he found out about this till he could get his wife to safety, and then what they've gone through together for her to heal. And they're just the most amazing Christ-centered couple I think I've ever seen. And their love for each other, the love for the Lord, the love for their kids, and how Laura survived this is just, it couldn't have happened except for God. It's just a miracle that she's walking around, she's doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
And, she's a warrior. She's not a victim. She's a warrior, and she's a Christ follower.
Yeah. Yeah. She was amazing for us and aboard the cruise. A lot of folks were impacted by her, just strength and fortitude as she moves forward in this movement to wake up the people and bring the truth to all of us. And it's been phenomenal. But that part of the movie was very difficult to go through. I wanted to jump in and help out and get her when that light went out and she was in the middle of the streets. Definitely had an impact. I hope everyone has an opportunity to watch this movie. Remember the alamomovie.com/AWK. Click on that link in the description box below, and it'll take them to the amazing website. Once again, I love this site. Love how you guys put this together. I want to just refresh it one more time. Enter this website, and there you go. All those folks are moving. I believe that that is phenomenal. Can't wait for the feedback on this. And Chris, for you to go out throughout the United States of America and bring this to the public. What a phenomenal job that you've done in saving our country, playing the part that the Lord has put you in. And we really appreciate that.
I'm humbled. I'm honored to be here. LT, do you mind if we close this segment out by doing the Alamo Pledge?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Right. You repeat after me, sir.
Okay.
I pledge to God the Father.
I pledge to God the Father.
And to Jesus Christ, his Son.
To Jesus Christ, his Son.
That I will never retreat.
That I will never retreat.
That I will never surrender.
That I will never surrender.
And that America.
And that America.
Will never become an Islamist state.
Will never become an Islamist state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God bless you, man.
Yeah. Amen. Man, praise the Lord. Remember the alamomovie.com/talk in the description box below. Chris, thank you for stopping by. We hope to get further updates moving ahead.
Yes, sir.
Man, Chris is absolutely amazing. We're hoping to get him on our cruise for next year in August. We'll keep you updated on that. It's on our, by the way, that's on our website, andweknow.com. And guys, I encourage you to go check out this movie. Tremendous. A couple more updates before we close. The Senate advanced 74 Trump appointees in one vote, 50-47 vote. Includes 4 U.S. attorneys, 4 U.S. Marshals, FEMA, TSA, and more. Great progress. Now we need the Save America Act on the floor. Finish the job. And going forward, Senate blocks Iran War Powers Resolution 49-50. Fetterman actually jumped ship, the Democrat, and voted with the Republicans. This has now been defeated around a dozen times. Meanwhile, the Senate still won't move the Save America Act to the floor. Another thing, at least 121 empty oil tankers en route to the United States. 68 of them have a capacity of 2 million barrels each. President Trump is always 5 steps ahead. Wanted to show you this also as he's taken care of and removed, I think, thousands and thousands of the CDL, commercial driver's license illegals, off the rolls. And guess what? They're going to replace them with our veterans.
As we get illegal aliens off the roads today, we're also taking action to replace these unqualified migrant truck drivers with highly qualified American veterans. Under our brand new Freedom Haulers, we call it Freedom Haulers initiative, any American who has driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license. And it's good paying jobs too. Any veteran with a heavy vehicle experience from the military will now be eligible to skip redundant road tests to obtain a commercial driver's license. We're going to make it as easy as possible for the veterans within 2 years following their active duty service. And for the veterans where no truck, where you have a situation where you have not truck drivers in the military, where you don't have truck drivers, they're going to be given a very quick pass. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn. If they didn't drive a truck in the military, but we're in, they're going to learn, and they're going to learn very quickly, and they'll be licensed in a matter of a few weeks, I think it is. They're going to take about 3 or 4 weeks of training. 34 states have joined this initiative, including Indiana, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, and Maryland are joining us just today. And many of the representatives and leaders from those states are with us. It's actually a very big deal. This is a big deal. We believe that all 50 states and Washington, D.C. should join us in supporting these great veterans. And frankly, some of the states didn't know about it. They heard about it today, and I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number, even as they drive the double the number of miles of non-veteran drivers.
Now, continuing with the illegals, thought this was pretty cool. John Solomon said ICE plans to open 4 detention facilities across the United States with enough capacity for 5,500 detainees. They're going to need a lot more than that. Ripcord saw this and said, last time I checked, 3 + 1 = 4. What do you mean? Well, you go to the Q board, and we've got references to detention centers being prepped. 3 from December 12, 2018, and 1 February 11, 2018. So that's 4. What were we told by John Solomon? 4 detention facilities. Well, we were already told on the Q board, prepped. Which reminds us of this. Department of War put this out. Never lose focus, Patriot. No distractions. Keep moving forward. Stay locked in. That's for sure. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you now, thanking you once again for your continued guidance and direction in our lives. Thank you for the leadership that you provided for all of us at a time like this, especially when things are playing out in so many drastic ways. We lift up those folks that are being invaded, that you would protect them from the invaders and watch over many of those, especially that are crying out to you for help. So again, we ask that you would continue to protect us, our families, protect those in the front lines, those in uniform and more. We thank you again for your Son, in whose name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend. For now, this LT Semper Fi with Them We Know, signing out.